Alrighty, did everyone have a good 5-minute break? Lovely. Alright, so now on to the next speakers. James, come on up.
Hi guys. I haven't got as much of my work in this deck as Gemma had, but it's not quite as visual and amazing anyway. But I think I've had a very different career, as you all will. Where I'm at the moment is I've got a boutique studio in Randwick, and sort of just started up a couple of years ago. So building that client list and enjoying that ride, it's a little bit crazy. But what I'm going to talk to you guys about is careers in design. There's not just one path. My career, which might be I think it's been a very broad and different career. So you might all come across different parts of this. Maybe some tips for your portfolio, how to get your foot in the door, and some little bits of advice. So careers in design, I think generally you guys have chosen an amazing career. Like, design is exciting in so many different ways, and if you're not loving quite what you're doing, you probably just need to change tact a little bit. There's so many different options, and I think once you graduate, I think learning for like a bit more, you're always learning, but it's not always about the dollar in those initial kind of years. Really, like, find a place where you're learning and loving what you're doing, and don't be afraid to change direction in those early years. Some of the guys that I graduated with have gone on and done very different stuff. Not just graphic design, there's brand design, digital, environmental design, textiles and swimwear. Someone started a sunglasses company. There's illustrators and architects. And even since we graduated, these careers of UX design and creative technology have popped up, which is completely bizarre. But my career has been a winding one. It's been a little bit different. I haven't got like a huge stint at one agency. I've kind of, there's my career path visualised in a little diagram, but I got into work through an internship through uni, and I loved it, and worked in a museum design firm for a year after that. Then got a new job through a recommendation, a word of mouth recommendation. Another recommendation to get in ad agency, so it wasn't a job post. Another recommendation to get into a brand agency. And so there's always like different ways to kind of find your way around and jump around, and depending on the kind of stuff that you're interested in. These are some of the roles I've sort of covered in my career and some of the clients. It's not just graphic design, it's sort of, as I said, the field is huge and broad. Anything from redesigning the whole Macca's UK website, doing branding for theatre companies, museum design, crappy, like funny bus posters in Sydney, art directing, sort of film shoots with people over in London, Bear Grylls and some football players, doing sort of fan pop-up spaces for rugby and other sports events, which I think is sort of where I found my love, was in that experiential space. It's still part of design, very creative, but there's sort of tech and sport involved, which was kind of my niche. I think one of the things that I've sort of come across is that new careers are always appearing in design. So since I graduated, iPhones have become a thing. There was no iPhones when I graduated. There was no apps. UX wasn't a thing. AR and VR weren't a thing. So I think always keep learning, and the paths keep changing. So it's not a red and blue pill. You go into one direction of design and you're stuck down there. You can always turn back and change what you're doing a little bit. Seek out what you enjoy, I think. What employers are looking for, I think, yes, design skills, but I think it's that willingness to learn when you graduate, problem solving, willingness to learn, and then, your personality and culture. What would your portfolio look like? I think you want a good website that's easy to navigate for an employer. You want a PDF that they can quickly jump onto through an email if you're applying for something, or hitting them up sort of just out of nowhere, which often the timing can help. One tip is keep it updated as much as you can, because not that I do, and not that I ever did. It's one of those do as I sort of recommend, not as I did, but try and keep it updated. Try to sort of create a portfolio that speaks to the kind of job that you would love to do and the kind of agency you're applying for as well. You don't want sort of a portfolio of work that doesn't quite fit for what they do. I think, craft it around what you'd love to do and find those agencies. Here's just I'm sure you know some of this, but this is sort of what might go into your portfolio. But I think one of the key things when I've hired people is, one of the things that people leave out is sort of relevant work experience that mightn't be in design. Like they might have worked in an Apple store, or they might have worked in sales, or they might have started a degree in psychology. And it's all really sort of actually applicable in design, and so it's really quite interesting. I've with one of my designers' permission, sorry, mouth going dry. I just thought I'd pull out this portfolio and just sort of talk through some of the things in her portfolio that I thought were really good when I interviewed her. Was really simple, scannable sort of job intro page. But also the things she showed in there. So some of them were university projects, but it was also the skills and the experience in those projects that I could see coming through. So I could see she'd had a go at logo design, she could use Illustrator. I could see she had some typography and layout, and so she could use InDesign. She sort of talked about UX design, and you can see down the bottom she made it in TAFE. So it wasn't a problem to me that it was a university or TAFE project. I could still see the skill set coming through. This project, which was one of them, I could see she understood responsive design, app design, and she could use Figma. I could see she had web design skills and she could illustrate. And again, so if you feel that your portfolio is a little bit thin and you want to sort of pick up some projects to add into it, there's always ways. One of the good ways was this designer went to a not-for-profit and offered to do a packaging job for them to raise money. So there was illustration in this, there was layout, there was typography, and it was a small, fun project for them which she could show and was great for me to see and understand her skill set. Getting your foot in the door, I think make your own luck. So there's opportunities. Yeah, that's been used a few times, but it's very relevant. There's internships, there's junior roles, there's part-time roles, there's in-house roles, and there's agency roles. But where are you finding them? I think sometimes, there are ads placed for junior designers, but there's a lot of people going for those. So I think probably one of my key recommendations is talk to friends and family, see if they know anyone in advertising, design, creative fields, and go and grab a coffee with them. Go and talk to them, ask their advice, and often jobs will sort of be appearing and they won't get advertised. They'll get filled before they're advertised. If you have a few contacts out there, as you probably saw from my list, I nailed my first couple of jobs through recommendations. So I think it's really key. Be a bit brave. Call someone from an agency you'd love to work at and say, hey, will you grab a coffee with me for 5 minutes? I'll buy you a coffee. And you're not necessarily wanting to get a job. You might just want their feedback on your portfolio. But also when a junior role does come up, you'll sort of pop into the top of their head and they might just hit you up. So that's what I've just spoken about. So, ask them to review your portfolio. I think one of the key things back when I was a junior was showing my portfolio to more senior designers and sort of going, what do you think? What's missing? How could I frame this differently? And it certainly strengthened my portfolio and gave me a better shot at getting a job. Go networking, go to design events, go to these sort of talks. AGDA have a bunch of design events on all through the year. And ask friends and family if they know anyone in creative fields. And I think this is the last one. I've sort of gone through pretty quick, but keep learning. I think, as I said, like the field of design is changing and always will be changing. The opportunities to do, and it's not just that you need to go into VR or AR or anything, but the opportunities to be creative and use design in these different ways is always changing. There's more opportunities. But whether it's sort of digital strategy, art direction, film directing, there's always sort of new little things that you can keep learning. And I think that would probably be a little recommendation as you go. You never stop learning anyway, but also, you're young, just keep crafting your skills. And I think that's it. Keep the door open, enjoy the ride.
Awesome. That was awesome, James. Very good.
Questions?
Yeah, any questions?
All good?
Questions? No, all good?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you briefly talk about the work they do at advertising agencies and graphic design agencies? Are there like different?
Yeah. So it depends on the type of agency. There, in advertising, there's above the line, which is where things are paid for, and a lot of it's sort of based on buying sort of TV ads or big billboard ads or content. Sometimes they. Yep. One moment. Cool. Depends on the type of agency. Sometimes it'll be sort of anything. Normally they'll be based around big campaigns for a big client that will run over a period of time. Could be anything from TV shoots and TV campaigns to radio campaigns to print campaigns. Or some of the stuff I was doing sort of in sports marketing and experiential was sort of amplifying the sponsorship that a sponsor was sort of paying for to be part of a big sporting event. So there's a lot of fan engagement sort of activities and pop-ups for brands. And in those sort of agencies, there's different roles. So there's like accounts people who sort of keep the client in check and do a lot of the comms with the client and take a brief. Then you sort of got creative. So you've got an art director and a copywriter who will often team up or work together. The art director's more, they often come up with a big idea together. An art director, generally more visual and coming up with the visual ideas. And the copywriter, the words and the headlines and things. But certainly there's a lot of blending between those these days. But there's also, behind those art directors and copywriters, there's normally brilliant design teams. So depends what sort of format the ads are, whether it's a print ad, whether it is a brand, there's still branding going on in these ad agencies, whether it's packaging, whether it's motion and animation, or whether it's film editing, there's still tons of sort of design, really creative design going on in ad agencies. Often great budgets, which is good, which sometimes in design agencies is harder to get to and sort of convince those clients to pay for. But sometimes you'll see on TV ads that look like they've had a lot of money spent on them because they have. So there's amazing opportunities in ad agencies as well. Cool.
That was great, James. Thanks for that.
Thanks.